Okay, now we've gone about 5 to 6 months is typically when the property is going to be sold at the sheriff's sale. This is 5 to 6 months after they've missed their first payment. And the property is sold to the highest bidder. And like I said, that bidder is generally going to be the lender. The lender is going to send in a representative, usually a lawyer representing the bank, and they're going to tell the sheriff what the opening bid's going to be, and that amount is generally going to be what the current mortgage balance is, plus any late fees, interest and penalties, plus all the legal fees that have been accrued for the foreclosure. Like the legal fees for the attorneys for filing the foreclosure, running the ad in the papers for the notice of default for the 6 weeks. All that stuff's going to be added, and that's going to typically be what the bank is going to open the bidding up at the sheriff's sale. If another investor wants to come by and bid at that time, they can. Generally doesn't happen, but they can. They're going to have those funds with them that day because they have to have the funds in the sheriff's hands at the end of the day. If the bank's doing the bidding, they don't have to give any money to the sheriff because they're basically bidding what they're owed. They've already put the money out. Now they're trying to get the money back. So they don't have to have money at the sheriff's sale. Anyone else has to have money at the sheriff's sale the day of the sheriff's sale in Minnesota. Some other states, the sheriff's sale, they may give you a week or 30 days to get the funds to them. But in Minnesota, it's the day of the sale or you don't get it. And the other thing is this is not a deed. You're not going to get the deed at the sheriff's sale, which what's happening is it's called a sheriff's certificate. So the sheriff is going to issue to the high bidder a certificate that says, okay, we've now done the sale, the mortgage has been foreclosed upon, but the homeowners have a redemption period. When that redemption period expires, then we'll give you the deed. But at this time frame, all you're going to get is a sheriff certificate, which entitles you to get the deed if the homeowner does not redeem during their redemption period. And we're going to cover the timeline of the redemption period here in just a moment. Okay, the borrower now has, typically in Minnesota, and this is going to be different in different states, Minnesota has one of the lengthier redemption periods. We have a 6-month redemption period. It could be as short as 5 weeks now if the property is vacant and abandoned, and the lender has to prove that the property is abandoned. Just because the property is vacant does not mean it's been abandoned. If utilities are still on, like say it's in the summer and people are cutting the grass, or if you're in the north, like you're in Minnesota and it snows and somebody's plowing it, it hasn't been abandoned because it still is being taken care of. Utilities are on and somebody's maintaining the property. Abandonment means that there's no utilities on, no one's paying the utilities, and no one is maintaining the property. The most obvious thing is in the summer, grass hasn't been cut. In the winter, snow hasn't been plowed or shoveled, and you can see that there's been no foot tracks in the snow going up to the property, and the snow hasn't been shoveled off the front steps. That's a clear indication that the property has been not only vacant but also abandoned. If that's the case, then the lenders can petition to the court, whether it was a judicial or non-judicial process, to have the redemption period accelerated to 5 weeks, which makes sense. If you got a vacant abandoned property, why wait 6 months if we already know no one's in the property? What's the likelihood of them redeeming it in that time frame anyways? And then the 12-month would be is if you have paid down the principal balance. If you paid down 1/3 of the principal balance, which takes an awful long time if you've ever done the numbers and looked at an amortization schedule, it takes several years to pay the principal balance down by 1/3. So they figure, what, if you've paid the principal balance down by 1/3, you've been in there a long enough time, you're vested in the property for a length of time. They may extend it to 12 months. The other one is rural and agricultural land. So if it's a farm, and this not a hobby farms, but like a farm where they're actually doing farming and they're planting crops and all that kind of stuff. And then, there is a minimum acreage, and I think it's 10 acres, but don't quote me on that. Somebody have to do the research on that. So if you had a property like that, in the cities we don't have much of an issue with that. In the rural areas you might have to have a concern. But if that's the case, if it's agricultural and it's over the 10 acres, the redemption period could be extended to 12 months, even if you just took out the mortgage last year. So you don't need that 1/3 principal reduction. Now they're going to have a 180-day redemption process or period. And at this point, the mortgage no longer exists. The sheriff's sales happen. The property's been foreclosed upon. There is no mortgage. The homeowner cannot bring the payments current. Like say if they were 6 months behind on payments and the foreclosure sale happens, they can't go and bring in the 6 months of payments plus the back payments plus the interest plus the legal fees and reinstate the mortgage. The mortgage literally no longer exists at this point. The note for the that the person signed for the say 200,000, that still exists. That note will go through till the end of the redemption period, but the mortgage that collateralizes the property, it doesn't exist in the terms of where the homeowner can just keep making monthly payments on that mortgage or bring in a lump sum and get it caught up and bring it current. They could do that, but that's not going to bring it current because there's no more mortgage. At this time, in order for the homeowner to redeem, they have to bring in whatever was bid at the sheriff's sale plus accrued interest, daily accrued interest from the date of the actual sheriff's sale. So at the sheriff's sale, the bidding was at say 200,000, and it was at say a 6% interest note because the interest accruing is at the rate of the note itself, of the mortgage when it was current. So if say it was a 6% mortgage, then the homeowner's gonna have to come in with that 200,000 plus 6%, which would be amortized out daily on a daily basis. So if they were 30 days into it, they'd have to bring in 30 days worth of interest plus the 200,000.